Ayelet, it is so great to connect with you today. I love your research. We have lots of overlapping interests and topics, and I know you are very busy. You have lots of demands on your time. So I'm grateful that you spent a few minutes with me here today.
Oh, it's such a pleasure, Nate. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So as you think back on all of the wonderful things you've learned about motivation, what lessons have you learned that you would most want to share with other people?
It's a four-part lesson. You
Okay.
need to think about how you set a goal. How do you monitor your progress from here to there? How do you manage everything else, your multiple goals? And what is the role of social support? Do you have it? And if you just master that, that's the Bible in one sentence.
Okay, that's great. So let's dig into each of these then. It sounds quite easy, right? Set a goal, monitor, manage everything else, and then think about social support. But maybe we could talk about what are some of the challenges and best practices with each of these aspects.
Well, I would not say it's easy. It's maybe easier to say than actually
Yes.
doing this, right? We all struggle with our motivation. Okay, let's take goal setting. There are many things that we want to do, but setting a goal means that you are going to be committed to that goal, that it has been carefully selected, that it fits with your lifestyle, that there are incentives, that there is maybe a specific number, okay, how much, how soon. Ideally, it's an approach goal, and most importantly, it's to some extent an intrinsically motivating goal. That is, you expect to benefit from doing it, not just to be the person who has done it. Okay. And goals fail when they are very low on intrinsic motivation, when there is no satisfaction, no pleasure, no excitement about doing this. And the only reason to do this is that you want this to be already done.
I think that is a really interesting and uh, actually profound idea because it can be so easy for us to think like, I want to set this goal. I want to do this thing. When really what we want is the outcome of having done that thing. And it's so easy to confuse the two. And so then we really want this objective. And then maybe we lose motivation along the way. And what you're saying here is one of the reasons we're losing motivation is because we don't like doing that thing. We want the outcome, we just don't want to do the thing. So to stay motivated, there also has to be some level of enjoyment of doing the thing.
Yes, and don't get me wrong. The reason we set goals is often because we are not excited about that, right? Like we don't set a goal to eat more ice cream and watch more TV. Okay, we set goals to reach some level of academic achievement, to be successful at work, okay, to exercise, to eat healthily, and we set these goals because they are hard, okay, because you need extra motivation, but you have to find a way and set the goal such that there is some pleasure from engaging in it, from experiencing the progress. It's not just about having it on your resume when you are done.
Okay, so if I eat ice cream every night and I want to stop. So I set the goal, I'm not gonna eat ice cream every night. What could I do to help me have pleasure along the way?
All right, so I briefly mentioned that avoidance goals work less effectively than approach goals. Okay, and one reason is that avoidance goals tend to be very low on intrinsic motivation.
Yeah,
What's the pleasure about not eating ice cream?
right.
None. Okay, but what are you going to substitute the ice cream with? Right? Is it going to be some nice activity? Is going to be some healthier snack? What that thing will be that could be intrinsically motivating.
And can turn it into even more of an approach goal, right? If I'm thinking about what I'm substituting with rather than what I'm going without.
Yes, right. So it could be some really fun snack. Okay, it could be a walk with your dog. Okay, which is going
Yeah.
to be relaxing, and maybe you will listen to a podcast and that will be enjoyable. So there will be something that makes the end of the day fun for you, okay, exciting. You look forward to it. But lacking the ice cream.
So really interesting. And one thing I love about you and your work is you talk about how it's not just about like motivating ourselves, it's about learning how to motivate ourselves. And so I love this idea of just this simple mindset shift of going from an avoidance goal to an approach goal, talking about substitutes, just learning these simple techniques actually can increase our motivation. Okay, so that's step one, set goals. Anything else you want to discuss before we move on to step two of monitoring?
We can move on to monitoring, but you just said something very important, and that is that when we think about motivating ourselves, we do think about how we are going to change our situation, how we are going to frame things differently. So we will change the way we do things. We will change the environment in which we do things, even just thinking about it differently. Okay, so instead of thinking about how far I am from where I want to be, maybe think about how far I've already gotten.
Mhm.
All these are effective meta strategies. What I often find less useful is relying on your willpower, or more realistically, blaming your willpower when things don't work the way you were hoping. It's not really about finding this willpower. Motivation is not really about being strong. It's about being smart. It's about designing life in a way where pursuing our goals feels natural and easier.
One of my favorite sayings from a friend of mine that he constantly reminds me of and says is organizations are perfectly designed to get the results that they get. And I think of that in terms of goal setting. Uh, Rather than just saying I need to just willpower my way to not eat ice cream every night, it's so much more effective and enjoyable to be smart, thoughtful, and design my life in a way to help me, uh, be healthier.
Yes.
Okay.
So, part two, okay? Uh, you set a goal, it is intrinsically motivating. Ideally, it's an approach goal. You know where you're going. And now, how do you monitor progress? And I already briefly mentioned you can look back and you can look ahead. Basically, you can monitor progress in terms of what you have done versus what you still have to do. The general advice here is to look at whatever is a smaller area. Okay, that
Mm.
is at the beginning, look back. Okay, when you're toward the end, look ahead and how much still remains for you to do. So let's take a 4-year college degree. Okay, after the first year, if you look back and say, I've already completed 1 year, that's more encouraging than if you look ahead and say, oh boy, I still have 3 years. After 3 years, if you look back and say, I've already completed 3 years, this is actually less motivating than looking ahead and say, I only have 1 year left. Basically, monitor progress in terms of what is smaller in size. Also, with this in mind, try to break long-term goals into sub-goals so that you don't have a lot of a middle. Okay, you are either at the beginning or the end. You don't get stuck in the middle. Take an exercise goal. Ideally, it's not just an ongoing exercise goal. Maybe it's a monthly or a weekly or even a daily goal for some people. That's easier because it has a beginning, an end, and less of a long middle.
So I love this idea of look back and look ahead and then look at the smaller area, because the great thing about that, it reminds me of, the heads I win, tails you lose idea, but it's more like heads I win, tails I win. No matter what, as long as I choose the way I look at it, I can choose to look at it in a way that is going to help me the most. So a really simple shift. And it's cool that uh we can figure out when that moment is and we can shift our thinking. It's not about always thinking about look how far I've come. Sometimes it's really motivating to think like look how far I get to go.
Absolutely. And we find that for goals to which people are already committed and they're already on it, and like you feel you got it, okay, you know what you're doing, it's often more motivating to say, hey, but I'm not quite there. Okay, there is still a distance to go. But when we start on something, when we are unsure, when you experience some lack of confidence, it is often useful to look back and see what
Yeah.
you've accomplished. Also, keep in mind that most of the goals, it's really just something that you set to get yourself going in the right direction. Okay. It's not about reaching the goal as much as doing the work and on the way there, and then looking back is just often encouraging. Okay, you can think about how much you have learned, how much you have already ate well, already invested in your relationship, how well you've become, not because you're trying to justify disengagement, which sometimes happens, but because you want to establish the commitment that yes, I can do it. I've already been doing it.
Yeah, really interesting. It's like there's all this satisfaction out there waiting for us to take hold of if we're willing to focus our attention in the appropriate ways. So,
An
okay.
experiment.
Sorry, what?
An experiment with your attention, see what works better.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. So now I set a goal and I want to achieve the goal, but all of these other responsibilities I have in my life are getting in the way. So, how do we manage everything else while we're trying to accomplish our goals?
Oh yeah, we never just want one thing, right? Especially not in the modern world. Okay, like we are constantly navigating multiple goals. There are constantly other things that call for our attention. And one thing that we've been doing recently is asking people about their goals and take like your family, career, health, leisure, everything, and ask yourself how much is there harmony between these goals versus how much they are conflicting, how much they pull you in different directions. And what we and others found is that when people feel conflicted, that undermines motivation. That also undermines just general well-being. Okay? We don't like feeling conflicted between our different objectives in life. And so a part of designing your journey to achieve a goal is trying to fit this with other goals, okay? Trying to figure out what are the activities that help you pursue several goals simultaneously. Okay, we often refer to these activities as multi-final activities or multi-final means. They help you achieve more than one thing. Okay, maybe if I bring my food from home to work, I can enjoy a homemade meal. It's also healthier, it is cheaper, it saves some time. There's a bunch of goals that I can pursue simultaneously. We also think about several means that allow us to get to the same goal, okay, or what we refer to as equifinal activities or means, which are all different ways to get somewhere. Okay, it's the all roads lead to Rome kind of metaphor. Okay, and that allows us to be more flexible in how we pursue a goal. Let's say that I would like to be a runner, but running no longer fits with other things that are going on in my life. Okay, maybe it is too cold, or maybe my health no longer supports running. To the extent that I'm flexible in how I achieve my exercise goal, to the extent that I have different ways, I can do a better job. So thinking about different ways to reach your goals, ways to reach several goals simultaneously, and then and that may seem a bit trivial, but really prioritize. Okay, think about which goals should stay on your plate and what needs to be removed. So identify the kind of conflicts where it's not about creating harmony, it's about letting go of something, subtracting.
Okay, so the first thing that comes to mind is something like potential work-life conflict. So I feel like the more I work, the less I have time for family, and the more time I spend with family, the less I work. So these goals feel like they're in competition. Is there a way to harmonize these goals to allow me to keep up my motivation and still thrive and be happy?
Absolutely. And one of the exercises that we've been using recently is just asking people to think about these goals more abstractly. Okay. And when you think about your life and what do you want to have in your life, then many people would say, well, having a family is important for me and having a career is important for me. Okay. And so these are two things that make me a whole. Okay. I can then see the connection such that my family supports my career goal. Okay. They are there for me. They are cheering for me. Okay. My work hopefully supports my family in the sense that, I then can make the money that is required to support my dreams as a family. Okay, I can get us to places. Okay, I'm researchers go to conferences and bring my family. They kind of like my work, at least when it gets to traveling around the world. Okay, how can we connect between these goals? I was just doing that mental exercise that goes into my mind when I do this. For you, it might be a different mental exercise, but people can identify the connections between goals.
Well, and it just makes me think too, like my family is, as much as I love my family, they don't want to see me 24/7. They want to pursue their personal goals and objectives. And my work doesn't want to see me 27. Ideally, and certainly that is the case where I work now at the University of Kansas. They want me to thrive. They want me to be a happy person. They don't want me to just, constantly be grinding and not have any sort of life or satisfaction outside of work. So again, I feel like just a subtle shift in our mindset can really help us make really good progress and be more motivated. So,
I love
okay.
this example. I love, yeah, it's a great example. My students, by the way, often tell me that it's either meeting their academic deadlines or getting a full night's sleep, but you cannot do both. To which I say, well, is mental health and academic success really in conflict? They're not, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. Oh, that's so great. Okay. Last one, role of social support.
Okay, so we humans, as I'm sure you know, are social animals. Okay, we know how to do things in a group very well. Okay, we know how to walk with others. We know how to do great things with others. We are not born to do things by ourselves. However, our modern life is often misleading. Okay, we often think about academic pursuits as individual goals, okay, or doing well at work as something that you do by yourself in front of the computer. That's just not right. Okay, and whatever is your goal, others have to be included. They can directly help. Okay, you can do it together. It might be a shared goal. They might also just be people that you follow, okay, that are your role models that you look at and you say, oh, so this is the best way to do it. You want to feel that there are people in your life that are helping directly, okay, that are supporting indirectly, that value your goals, that care for you to be successful. It is not an individual's journey. It is something that we do as a group.
Yeah, that's great. I love this idea of including others in the goal, even if they're not explicitly working towards it themselves, because they may still have an interest in it. So, I'm working on a publication right now. My four children might not have any idea what is in that paper, right? Maybe I could share it with them, but they are certainly invested in whether or not that paper gets published because that has downstream consequences for them, both in terms of my happiness level and my relationship with them, but it also impacts them, of course, on where we live and what sort of resources we have. So I really like this idea of not just thinking about our goals at the individual level, but thinking about all of the ways in which our goals uh, invoke the support of other people.
Yes, and your children, they are there, right? They know you work on a book. They are invested in the book. It's probably important for them that you are successful. Other people, I did not know you were working on a book until now, right? So you kind of need to mention it to me so I can be supportive. I can tell you that Nate, I also worked on a book, and let's
Yeah.
exchange notes and see what I've learned that might be useful for you.
Yeah, well, this is just so great. So the theme for this podcast is simple, practical, and underappreciated. But you've taken that a step further. You've done those things, but you've just provided so much insight. And I feel like all these lessons and the descriptions you go through, you're just providing slightly different frames that maybe I haven't thought of before that I just feel like are really valuable and provide insight. So this was perfect for the podcast. I want to thank you so much for coming on. I look forward to listening to this episode again, sharing it with my family and students, invoke them in my goals. And then I will also be going to Chicago with my family for the Academy of Management conference coming up soon, trying to uh, keep things in harmony. So just want to, again, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
That was a great summary. Thank you, Nate.